Hey, good evening. What a wonderful, wonderful evening it is. A little cool. Down to what, 3 here at Winkler? But nevertheless, it's awesome. I just didn't take the bike today, and just wanted to have a short walk and take a look at the fountain. Not lit up as much as sometimes, but you know what? This is where it's at, the Bethel Heritage Park. Yep, I'm going to try and come here throughout the winter, throughout the year, as long as God gives me health and breath and the wherewithal. I want to keep walking, keep talking, keep sharing. Yeah, it's been a wonderful, wonderful day. Tomorrow I get the privilege of doing a short memorial service for Brother Abe Funk, who passed away September 13th at Salem Home. I've shared the story in bits and pieces on Facebook, shared his obituary, a man who may not have had a lot of successes as far as material things are concerned, but boy, he loved the Lord and his family, and he was so concerned that other people would also get to know the Lord. And when I got a call from Salem Home yesterday morning asking whether I wanted to do this short memorial, and it's not a funeral service, it's a memorial service for the local residents. In fact, in the area, the wing that he lived, I think for the past year and thereabouts, and maybe longer, and it's Cottonwood. And so we'll go there in the morning and hold a short memorial service. And when Judy from the Salem Home called me and asked me if there was anything that I knew about him, I said, you know what? I think I do. I finally realized that Brother Abe had been in the hospital as a patient when Judy was moved to the palliative care. And Brother Abe also wasn't that well off, but he could move around in his wheelchair. And so he came to see me in the waiting room in that particular floor, and he shared. But far more importantly, he cared. He cared for me. He cared for my wife. He cared because Jesus cared for him, cares for him still. And so that's how I got to know Brother Abe. And then when I worked, filled in for the past chaplain at Salem Home, he would come to the services, and I would have a chance to talk to him briefly on various occasions. Tomorrow, I get the chance to do a memorial, not in all those things that that are notorious in this world, and you know what, and they're good. But he had a far higher calling. He loved to share the gospel of Jesus with the people he came in contact with, and that's what the memorial will be all about tomorrow. John 14, verse 6, 1 to 6. How Jesus told his disciples, I go to prepare a place for you. And when I checked the Weeb funeral website, Chaplain Wilbert Friesen, who's since retired, and there's a new chaplain coming to Salem Home. No, it's not me. And bless his heart, the man that's coming. Wilbert said in Low German, Jo, alles wat ik nu wel, is Jezus zijnen, and met Jezus taub zijn. Simply translated, Abe told Chaplain Wilbert Friesen many times, I want to see Jesus. I want to be with the Lord himself. I want to go home. And, you know, I've had that discussion with various people. I had it early on with people, with my father. And, you know, there's always people, somebody gets really sick and somehow that person hasn't quite come to that point yet where he or she wants to die. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. That doesn't mean they're afraid to die. See, God created in us a will to live. And then when he feels it's the time, then he sometimes takes away that will to live. And then people want to see Jesus. And what a better thought to have of a person passing on to glory than he or she wanting to see Jesus. Well, I want to change gears here a little bit. It's today was the throne speech, the nothing speech, I guess is what many people are calling it. Where Prime Minister Trudeau, again said, you bet, we're going to create 1 million jobs. We're going to tax the oil companies. We're going to tax whoever, put a carbon tax on and do these things. But you know what? Through all of that, we're going to create jobs. Okay, we'll just have to wait and see. He also told the little gal from Sweden, I guess it was, at Denmark, Sweden, that, Greta, that he was going to plant 10 million trees in the next year. Well, I think that year is pretty well over, and there hasn't been one tree planted. Yeah, there's some companies that have planted trees, but at the same time, the government said they would plant trees. So if they can't plant trees, you wonder how they're going to create jobs. Well, I had a chance to speak with Jerry Ritz, the former Minister of Agriculture, and he said, you know, absolutely disgusting and disappointing with the lack of interest. He says not even just a lack of interest, the lack of know-how. I mean, this government, they don't have people in it that understand the importance of agriculture to Canada. They don't understand the importance of agriculture to the world. They don't understand that if they're going to tax the farmers, and they're going to do all these kinds of things and take away this and take away that in the name of whatever, the climate change goddess, that people are going to starve if we don't have farmers making a profit. Maybe he thinks he can just, you know, have people till gardens and see what happens. You know, we'll see what happens, right? and so anyway, I remember years ago, forgive me, Marcel Houcault, he was then the retiring chair of the Manitoba Pork Council. He was the original chair, I believe, of the Manitoba Pork Council. And Marcel had great hopes for then the NDP government in power. And but by the time he was done, he told me then, in private, he says, Harry, I'm so disgusted with the lack of knowledge, the lack of concern, the lack of whatever it may be, as far as this NDP government is concerned. He says, it seems like, and this was quite a few years back, it seems like they would simply like each person, farmer, each farmer to own a quarter section of land and then give them a lawnmower to keep it short. That's over-exaggerating, but you know what? When you listen to the throne speech today and the lack of concern for agriculture, and I also posted a video by Jeff Nielsen, president of the Canadian Grain Growers of Canada. It was the speech from the Combine. Yep, the speech from the Combine. And you know what? They too, this was before the throne speech. They just kind of, you know, laid out in front of people what And they too, it isn't that they want to have handouts. I think he says, no, we're not looking for handouts, we're looking for a hand up, meaning partner with us. I remember Harry Entz, bless his heart. Harry was the Minister of Agriculture. He was also the Minister of Natural Resources, and I think he held that position at 3 different occasions. And one time I had the privilege of actually working with him as a consultant, and we did some good things together. But I remember when they opened the St. Agathe Industrial Park. Unfortunately, the reason they opened it at that time, not so much why they opened it, but the big business that they were celebrating, moving in and building that plant, was a bit of a scam, a fellow from Germany. But nevertheless, here's what Harry told me in an interview. He says, as governments, we should get out of the way. We should get out of the way, but provide the infrastructure, the wherewithal, and the knowledge, if you want, in order to allow industry, people, you and me, to thrive in a place where they have provided the infrastructure. This particular government in Ottawa, I don't even know if there's politicians that understand that. Yes, I may be biased, but Harry was the best Minister of Agriculture that this province has ever had. And because he worked for the farmer. He didn't care about Harry Entz. Sure, he loved the wherewithal, the office and all that, but no, he was concerned about the farmer. And you know what? I really enjoyed working for him. In fact, I knew Harry so well, and this again had nothing to do with him per se, other than I had talked to him during the morning for whatever reason, and I knew that he was going to his farm. And that evening, I went to a Monsanto banquet for young scholars, and I forget exactly what it was, but they gave awards of $1,000 to 10 young people to help them get involved in studies in agriculture at the University of Manitoba. So the banquet was at the University of Manitoba. And I happen to know the coordinator, person in charge for Monsanto, and Harry wasn't showing up. And so finally, and I, in my mind, I didn't know, I just kind of thought maybe, well, here's what happened. He looked at me, this coordinator, and then, I said, okay. I kind of knew what he was thinking. And then he came over to me and he says, Harry, I don't think Harry Entz is going to show up, the Minister of Agriculture. I think you're going to have to be the keynoter. Hey, you know what? Put a microphone in front of me and we'll go. And sure enough, I had the privilege and the chance to get up and share with that audience, and the young people in particular, the importance of agriculture. The importance, this is Ag Awareness Week in Manitoba, and that's great. We need to be aware. But when Kathy K.K. Kennedy at CJOB interviewed me on Monday to kick it off, she says, Harry, why do we only honor farmers one week of a year? Shouldn't we honor them every day? Boy, she had it right. Absolutely. But that doesn't take away from the ag awareness, which is, I think, in the sixth year that we were going to have it. This year they had to do it online. And so she said, I said, instead of talking to some politician, why don't I talk to you about the importance of agriculture? And yes, it is. It is so important. And I'll keep repeating what Orion Samuelson, the farm broadcaster who just celebrated 60 years as a farm broadcaster at WGN, 60 consecutive years, daily farm broadcasting. Since 1978, Orion has been my mentor, my friend, my colleague. And he had a number of sayings because he spoke right around the world, a free country. In fact, he went to Russia a few times as well. And then he says, you know, if you eat, you're involved in agriculture. If you eat, you're involved in agriculture. And the other important point is that if you're involved in agriculture, you have the privilege and the honor of serving a basic industry. It's with a renewable resource. Yes, agriculture is a basic industry with a renewable resource. Yes, we got to do everything we can to make sure we keep the soil, we do the things. But you know what? One of the things that I heard today, because we have a government that's just kind of sitting on whether they ever would actually promote agriculture. Yeah, they have some token things and do stuff, but you know what? Because the government's here wants to tax us with carbon taxes and all kinds of things, it's going to make us even less competitive. Not only that, it's the supplies, the genetics, the technology, the whatever it may be, that also stays behind. And that some people don't realize it. Some people are out on the front line and they see it, prices, policy, and so forth. But no, when you keep cutting back funding of research, whatever it may be, and not promote agriculture, not get in the front of agriculture, but bring up the rear and hold it back, then you get to the point where you actually start to go backwards. And that's the sad part. And when I talked to Jerry Ritz today, and he's living in the oil country, up in near Lloydminster, Alberta, Saskatchewan. He's in part of Saskatchewan. I asked him, I said, what about the oil industry? Because 2 years ago I had lunch with Jerry in Lloydminster, Alberta. And he told me then, you know, the oil industry is just suffering. He says, and since then it has gone backwards, 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 big time. And so, yes. But the other thing that Jerry told me today, he filed his papers together with 3 other potential rural municipal councillors. Jerry is running for Reeve, and these other 3 want to be councillor. That's, you know, at one time he was the Minister of Agriculture, the top agricultural position in Canada. He's now running for Reeve. You know why? Because he says agriculture and there's a conflict between the cottage owners, the people that live full-time along the lake, and agriculture. And so he's not fighting agriculture. He just wants to be in a position to make sure that it all moves forward, because in tandem we can move forward. Yesterday, and I'm going to have to cut this short because my battery is coming to an end here. Yesterday I toured in the Pembina Valley, and beautiful, just absolutely gorgeous. But let me end with this. I'll talk about the Pembina Valley tour some other time. You can check out the pictures on Facebook on my timeline. But Ellen Preston, just saw a post from him, and I have to kind of paraphrase it because I didn't memorize it. But he talked about the tree. Every year for so many years, it's always looked so beautiful in their yard. He says it turns such a beautiful color. He had a picture of it. But he says in 3 days, those leaves are gone, the color's gone. And he says, don't take for granted what you can do today and put it off for tomorrow, because you aren't sure what tomorrow will bring. And I thought that was just an awesome point. You can look up Ellen Preston Alan used to be the Deputy Minister of Agriculture. In fact, when I got to know him, he was the head veterinarian officer in the province, and then he became a deputy or an assistant Deputy Minister of Agriculture. Such a good friend to agriculture. He's now on the farm raising cattle. Well, so much for that. Before I lose this this broadcast, we'll have to sign off somewhere, sometime, somehow. I'll see you again.